Two, test, test.
Discover new music, discover new podcasts, panels, storytellers, stand-up comedians, musicians of all local kinds. It's going to be fantastic. The music's going to take place in the back, so we're going to rock and roll all night and party everything. Like Kiss said. But without further ado, we're going to bring up our very first storyteller of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, she's part of this trade thing. And ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kirby Redworld.
Here's my freaking bag is hot match just like me.
Hey!
Hi, how you doing?
Who's that? How yourself?
I am fan freaking tastic. Hello everybody. I am going to bring this up a little bit. I got legs. There we go, there we go, there we go. So I'm Kirby Redworld, Amber Dawn, like you said, half of it's a trade thing. I'm going to do things like differently than they do. Usually clear with all these mopey, dramatic poems and like la, the world's on fire. But we all know the world's on fire, right? So I'm going to talk about sex instead. So, as I said, I am a singer-songwriter. I am also a writer for Get Cannabis and an Instagram model and an OnlyFans model. Yeah. So I have been on OnlyFans for 4 years. Actually, people don't even know it's been around for 4 years. And when I started OnlyFans, I didn't have the pandemic 20. So I was a little more of a friendlier audience. Didn't have to like defend your body type all the time, although you still had to. It has been a journey. It has been a really, really amazing journey that taught me that our sex life was vanilla. Not so much anymore, which is lovely. At least on my end of things. I am actually polyamorous and trying to find a girlfriend that doesn't think I'm unicorn hunting, because that's what everybody does to me. They're like, hey, you're a unicorn. I'm like, no, they just look good on me. I mean, I could be, but probably not. Everyone thinks I'm a whore, but I've had 2 dicks in 11 years, so figure that out. I don't show my yoni on there, just my fabulous chi-chis, because they're like a whole mountaintop. I mean, they're there, you can't miss them. Everybody's been trying to get me to see them my whole life anyway. At least this way I make $10 a pop every time you roll through. And I am a very well-published poet. We can go ducking and you're trucking while we fucking. We can talk about limericks. I got some limericks. And being on there allowed me to explore how much I love women. I got to talk about softness and tongues and caressing and all these things. I'm like, I'm sorry, honey, I'm kind of gay. Like, extremely gay. Hence the 2 dicks and 10 years, well, that and the wedding ring, but we don't talk about that part. So, everybody hates you, but that's okay, because I was a social worker before and everybody hated me then. And at least this way, I don't have to change the initials on my card. SWSW, right? Just not gonna take your kids, only your husband, $10 each. So, okay, so the OnlyFans journey. It started off, I had a really, really low self-esteem, like so fucking low. And I posted this picture. I did this band photo shoots, and I posted this picture online, and I just started showing my face online. And this guy, this rapper I know, he hit me. He's like, "You're fucking sexy." I was like, "Oh, thanks." He's like, "Want to make some money?" I was like, "I always want to make some money." So he's like, "Post this picture." So I posted the picture. I made some money. Not enough money. It's not sustainable because I don't fuck. I just model and tell stories. I don't masturbate for anybody. I never show my yoni. I sing naked half the time. Like little song, I'm like, "Hey, I hate the wheel today." I'm gonna talk about Kanye's policy without my tits up. Yeah, so I would go to these protests. Oh wait, I'm skipping ahead. Let's go back to 2010. In 2010, I worked with a lot of women on different protests for the Slut Walk. And the Slut Walk was to normalize sex work, to normalize women in their bodies, just living as individuals. And that kind of like started this journey for myself that ended up with me being an OnlyFans model. I had my own website for a while. It was really beautiful, but men ruin everything. They hack everything. They try to cross your boundaries every day. Fucking men. So they pulled the site down. So now I'm just on OnlyFans as far as the topless goes. I got some great legs too, just to point that out. So I moved everything to there because it has a 3-tiered system. It's kind of a capitalist bullshit now, but the first 3 years it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I got to write all these poems, like I said, and I got to work with men with like erectile dysfunction. They would be like, "Hey, you're a social worker and a sex worker. Can I talk to you about my dick?" I was like, "As long as you don't send me a picture of it, we're good." Like, I just don't want to see it. And they pay way better than subscribers. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm happy to go through this, but as a counselor, it's $150 for an hour. And he's like, "Okay." I was like, "Oh shit, now this is my niche. Get them on here with my tits and then fix their itch." So I talked with men about their lives. I've taught men to communicate. I've taught men to say, "Hey baby, I went to little porn and I really want to come on your face," but you know, with a little more decorum. like you work up to the snowfall. Like it's not just something, you know, really talk to. But in the process of my being willing to talk about all these things, people will think I'm willing to do all of these things. So all of my DMs, everything says, "Don't DM me, don't talk to me, I will cut you." Like, if I do not have money in my Cash App, before you send me a DM, I will lose my shit on you. But I'm old, so I don't have the balls of these kids. I can't just like screenshot all their shit. I'm like, I respect boundaries, so I'm going to scribble off your face before I screenshot this, you dirty freaking dick. So I want to out these guys, but I'm like, I don't want his wife to know that he's on here doing this, but I want the world to know that I know that he knows. But then the wives are like, "Oh honey, I know, I said it to do it to you." I'm like, "Oh, wait." She's like, "Yeah, here's my pussy." I like tits and legs, but thanks, I guess. Women are aggressive. Dudes take horrible pictures. Horrible pictures. Like, here's my baby blanket from my toddler and a toilet bowl. There's my dick. It's gross. It's super gross. But women are like, "I got pretty lighting on, I got this dress, I got my ass out, look at me." Okay, I like those. But it's those with the vigorous masturbating with a fucking 10-inch, 3-inch wide black. I'm like, why? No DM stands for you too, honey. Like, it's too much. Can you buy me dinner first? I am not hookup culture. It is startling. I had this one lady, and is that my minute? Okay. Well, I'm gonna skip ahead. Anyway, I'm almost out of time. OnlyFans has been the most empowering part of my life. I went from going to people's houses and saying, hey, I gotta teach you to do your coke on the side. Like, people can't know you do coke, or I gotta come back and take your kids, man. You gotta function first. To being like, so this is my Amazon wish list, and I have great tips. I actually don't do the wish list. I really wish I did. I'm a terrible sex worker. I am like, I will cut you at least 30 times a day. Then I'm like, but if you read my poem and give me $10, I'll send you 2 pictures of my boobs. And I'm a 38 double H, so, and they're natural, so you want to see these. Anyway, that's my time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Good job.
Give it up for Aberdeen again, ladies and gentlemen. Remind me of the old penthouse letter I used to read when I was a kid. I'm kidding. I stole this from my uncle. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming up to the stage next is a comic from Colorado Springs that I got to see with the We'll Figure It Out live podcast earlier today. Ladies and gentlemen, coming all the way from the first table here, for Janine Lee, ladies and gentlemen.
What's up?
Janine Lee, first
me.
Oh, Janine, yeah, go! Janine, yeah!
Thanks.
Yeah, hell yeah!
You have to get our drinks. I see them. They're ready on the counter, Casey.
Okay, I'll go get them.
Oh, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna go pee real quick. Now I can't, but that's okay. I'm really good at just holding it. All right. How's everybody doing? Amazing. Yay. I have some stories. I thought it was family friendly at first, so I was just like, oh my. Oh, okay. I love that though. Because everybody should just be chill about it, you know? Just like it happens, everybody likes it. Dudes like it, am I right? Maybe. Girls like it. I guess nobody does. It's fine. One time, so a couple years ago, I bought Casey Dean. He's my boyfriend right here. We'll figure it out. I bought him a Bluetooth speaker for Christmas, which is really fun because it's, you know, blue and Bluetooth, and it's called the Swimmer. So it's actually shaped like a sperm, and it's because like the head of the speaker is the front, and then it has the tail so you can like wrap it around stuff. But they straight up called it the Swimmer, like Bluetooth speaker. And it's waterproof, you know, like their own thing. So it's pretty good. And we used it all the time. You just connect to your phone. When you turn your phone on, sometimes it auto connects. And we used it in the car earlier one day. And then it was late at night, and I didn't see Casey. But I hear like, all of a sudden I just hear some like, and I'm like, what is going on? I hear some people having a good time. Thought maybe it was my neighbors or something. And then it was just louder too. And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe not like that. What sounds? I don't know. As you can tell, these are the sounds he has to deal with for me. And I'm like, okay, this sounds like it's coming from inside the house. And I'm mad, because I was like, what is happening in this house? Sex is happening in the house. And I'm looking for it. And I go into the bedroom, I don't see anybody. And I look, and I open the closet, and I see our book bag. And the Bluetooth Swimmer is the book bag. And I was like, oh, okay. I wonder where Casey's at. So I just grabbed the Swimmer and just holding it. I'm walking, and I see the bathroom doors closed. So I'm just like, okay. And I put the speaker right up to the door. Silence. And then Casey just opens the door, he just has this big smile, like, what are you doing? So, you know, sex is cool, we should all just be chill about it. But yeah, Casey and I have been together for 5 years, 5.5 years almost now. And we met at this Cannabis Club I used to work at, and I don't think they're around anymore, so I'm not gonna drop their names. But I remember one time I was there, and there was this woman, her name was Sherry. She was this badass lady, she had a mohawk, tattoos all over her. She looked like she'd pick me up and just throw me. It was hot, it was cool. And I'm working behind the counter, this guy walks in, he's super drunk, and I just hear him say, I'm gonna kill this guy! And he grabs this dude playing guitar, all the music stopped, everybody's just like, ooh. And so the doorman starts pushing him outside, get out, get out, get out. And I'm like, oh no! And so I'm just like, you watch the counter, I go outside, and this dude, he's just like, super drunk, he's on something else too. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna find it. And yeah, he's just like, ah. And so the owner, one of the co-owners, like pushed him up against a tree, and he misses, and he hits him. And then the doorman comes in, and he hits him again. And the guy just gets up like a zombie, like, hey, I'm fine, whatever. And everybody's outside like, get out of here. And he's like, okay, he literally starts leaving. Turns around, and he starts coming back after getting punched. He's like, you know what, I don't like this. So I'm gonna come back, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm calling the police, like, hurry up, this guy's getting his ass beat. And they're like, okay, well, hurry up. And this Sherry, she comes outside, she didn't know what was going on. She's just smoking her cigarette. She was like, yeah, what's up, blah, blah, blah. And the dude's just standing there. We're all just standing there waiting for the police. The guy's just standing there, and he stops, and he goes to punch the co-owner, turns, and punches Sherry right in the face. And everybody looked, they were like, oh my God. And it almost like she just crumpled her cigarette. She's like, who are you to hit me? And she just hit him so hard, like blood came down. He was just like, I was like, oh my God, I was standing right next to her. And she just laid him out cold. I'm on the phone with the police. I was like, oh shit, she just knocked him out. Oh my God, you better hurry up. The cops don't even come. The fire department ends up driving by because they're at the end of the block. Look over, and he just flips the lights on, like, hey, what's going on? What's going on over here, guys? What's going on? He's like, yeah, this guy came in and said he was going to murder somebody. He punched this woman. She knocked him out. And we handled it from here. So that was one of the most memorable stories at the studio. That was one of the craziest times how I started doing comedy-ish. I don't really do it anymore. I really enjoy just watching awesome people perform and do their thing and hone in, love each other, But yeah, I met Casey there, and how much time do I have?
Yeah, 2-3 minutes.
Okay, so Casey and I used to work, he got me a job at a dispensary, and when I was single, I was trying to let him know that I liked him. I'm like, hey, hi. He was just so he didn't do that. I'm like, so rude. No, he was like that. He's just like, hi, I'm that's not you either. But then one day, I was like, watch this, everybody. Hey, Casey, what are you doing tomorrow? He's like, nothing. And then he just left. And I was like, okay, cool, all right. And literally, I was like, I have to make sure I can get him to notice me. And this was super inappropriate. I do not recommend doing this, especially if there's an HR person in your web company. I went in and I was like, my shoulder hurts. Can you put on a little bit of Icy Hot? And I just like showed him my shoulder. He was like, sure. And then awkwardly put Icy Hot. And then later on, I ended up asking him out. I was like, do you want to go and do something. I don't know. It was super cute. But anyway, yeah, I just want to say thanks, Rhett. Thanks, everybody. Tip your people and be kind. And love y'all.
Give it up for Janine one more time, ladies and gentlemen. That was fantastic. As he said, tip your baristas. They're working hard back there for you all, and tip them well, and all that good stuff. And I've never been punched in the face by a cop. I don't think I could handle it. But without further ado, the next storyteller coming up to the stage, we go back since 2014 performing stand-up here in the downtown bar and all over Pueblo. Without further ado, he was one of the hosts of the We'll Figure It Out podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Casey Dean Freeze.
Hi, everybody! Oh, yeah! So I'm so glad that COVID's over. Are you guys happy? It's not really over, but are you happy that we can not wear masks and do things again? It's nice, right? It's really nice. It feels good. The first thing I did was go to a ZZ Top concert. Right? How? Pretty badass, I went with my grandma, though, which was really awesome. It was weird, though, because I saw the oldest pair of tits I've ever seen at this concert. In my entire life, I've seen the oldest pair of tits. Me and my grandma were rocking out, we're listening to this music, we're going, how. We're dancing, we're grooving, and I turn over and I look, and my grandma's flashing ZZ Top. It was horrible. I saw my grandma's boobs. So my COVID is after COVID starting off great. My grandma's a crazy person though. She's one of my favorite people. During Christmas this year, she whips out a pipe and starts smoking a big bong bowl in the middle. We're opening up gifts and she just smoking the pipe right in the middle of everything. She blows the weed in my father's face, who my entire life look at Gams, like, what? I'm like, you're smoking right now, and she's like, I'm Gams. Takes a huge hit, blows it right at him. Gams is crazy. I was a bad kid when I was growing up. I actually used to buy weed for Gams. But that's not like the bad thing about it. Of course, Gams needed to get weed. That's not a bad thing. The bad thing about it was that I actually pinched her sack every single time. So I was definitely a bad kid. That quarter came about an eighth short every single time. I was also a bad kid. I know this because I was talking to my friends last night even about it. My friend brought up this kid. He was like, "You remember Andrew Lundquist?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember Andrew Lundquist." He was like, he had that really scaly skin. I was like, "Yeah, we called him Lizard Boy." I was like, God damn it, I was a bad kid. It's like I was a bad kid because I know this because there's this kid that had a mole on his nose and we called him Poop Nose growing up. None of this were actually good nicknames, but it just means that I was a horrible kid growing up. A lot of bad things that I did. One of the bad things, I guess, is we went to New York when I was 19, and being in New York, I decided to live my New York life. I wanted to be a New Yorkan, so I got super duper drunk with my friend, and we passed out in an alleyway. my friend's head was on my lap. I was puking off to the side, and he was puking onto my lap. And I felt like that was probably the most New York experience you could have possibly had. I'm shocked I didn't get anything stolen from me or anything like that. It is intimidating to sit here and see Wu Manchu staring at you through his mask. This is rough. My grandma still talks about how she used to take acid all the time. And she always talks about how she's worried about flashbacks coming. And she told me that there's this one time that she was holding on to the edge of the world. And I'm like, what does that mean, Grandma? She said, I was so high that I thought I was flying. I was like, that's amazing. She's like, I learned that if I was flying, that I would want to fly naked. I was like, I mean, I would want to do the same. If I could fly around, I'd fly with my cock in the air, just flying around, flailing around all crazy. But then my grandma said she also ended up in jail because she was naked just running through her neighborhood. So that's just one thing that she doesn't want to flash back into, and that makes sense. I wouldn't want to flash back into that either. Where are we at?
Yeah. 6 more minutes.
6 more minutes. Okay, well, we're up here for the long haul, everybody. So, a story about Gams. Gams, she was a writer for a really long time. Gams wrote about the craziest stuff. She actually ended up meeting Hunter S. Thompson one time, and doing a bunch of drugs. I think that's all you do with Hunter S. Thompson, right? That's all you do with it. If you meet Hunter S. Thompson, you do drugs with him, or you shoot a bunch of guns. I think she did both. So she lived her best life. She hopped onto the Ken Kesey acid trip bus at one point. If you guys know about this, Ken Kesey is one of the greatest writers of all time. And she was on that bus, which is incredible. She's an incredible woman. The other day we were smoking a bong, and she started talking about how her and her friend used to take a bunch of acid and go to the zoo. And when they went to the zoo, they saw the animals and they were all different colors. Makes me really want to do acid and go to the zoo. It's really all that does. It makes me want to go to the zoo really, really bad. I love my grandma, man. It's crazy because I was talking about COVID before this, and during COVID, I was unable to visit my grandma. It was a horrible time, and I felt like a lot of us were in that same situation where we weren't able to visit or see our loved ones. My grandma was deathly afraid of me even going onto her porch. So the last year was a horrible time, but it's funny because the very first thing that me and my grandma do when we meet up with one another is she asks me to buy her fucking weed again. I'm so sick of her asking me to buy her fucking weed all the damn time. But it's okay. I bought her weed and I definitely pinched that sack again. So I ended up with that. What's cool is my medical card ended up expiring the other day. So my grandma got a medical card and now she's buying me weed. It's great. It's a whole thing now. It's like a family thing where we just get to smoke each other's weed all the time. I'm wondering though, because my weed came really, really, really light. So I'm wondering if my grandma pinched my sack, which would be fucked up, and I'd be upset. Not that kind of sack. She's not pinching that sack. Yeah, she probably got me back. I feel like I only got an 8th and I spent like $100. Yeah, so she's a sweet lady. One of my favorite people of all time. She actually divorced my grandfather when she was 18 years old. They married when they were 17 because they had my mom at that age. She divorced my grandpa at 18 and then ran away to do all that hippie stuff. My grandpa was here in town raising my mom because my mom was too young to hop onto the Ken Kesey acid bus. So, but it's weird because my grandpa and my grandma had a weird dynamic. My grandpa is a country guy. Like he could have been the Marlboro man. Like he smoked a lot of cigarettes, wore really tight jeans, wore tucked in shirt with a cowboy hat almost every single day. My grandma, on the other hand, hated cowboys. So probably why they divorced soon after they were married. But yeah, beautiful lady. I wanted to dedicate this storytelling set to her beautiful life. She is so sweet. She means the world to me, and I am so stoked that COVID is over, or at least to the point to where we don't have to do as much, and I can see my grandmother. So that's why I was up here. That's why I wanted to story tell. And I think coming up next is someone amazing. Do you want me to introduce you? Coming up next is one of the best comedians, one of the best storytellers, one of the best people, kind-hearted people I've ever met in my entire life. But he's funny. He's so fucking funny, everybody. He's one of the greatest people of all time. Coming up on the stage, Wu Manchu. You rock.
Give up for cake, ladies and gentlemen. That was amazing. I've only met my grandmother like 3 times, I promise. It was pretty wild. All time Bogus. Pretty nuts. But I guess I'll be a serious storyteller this evening. You must be wondering, what's with your Wu Manchu getup? Well, I met half of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah!
And like, they said, I didn't know what I was going to be for Halloween. And people were like, you should totally be Wu Man. And I'm like, this sounds too much like a woman. How about Wu Manchu? Kind of like Fu Manchu, you know? And I'm like, that's perfect. So, the very first time I dressed up like this was Halloween weekend. And I got to see Danny Carey from Tool playing his jazz band. Yeah, it was called Bubbatron or Volto. It was one of the 2. He did like 2 of them. And he was like, man, that's pretty interesting getup you got there. And I'm like, thanks, man. And to see him up close and personal was just amazing. To see him perform just that close, performing like Tool in a jazz band. Just,
Nice.
what the heck is going on here? His arms are like made out of water. Maybe it is blood in there. And so, like 2 days later, I ended up going to the Gibson Amphitheater. And on Halloween night, Danzig Legacy performed. And that show had Danzig, Sam Hain, and the Misfits all on one bill.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, Mac was there, Doyle, everybody.
Nice.
And my buddy that was working at a liquor store, he goes, do you want backstage passes to the show? I'm like, heck yeah, I do. So what happened was, I took the guy that played Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Yeah.
His name's Andrew something. He was in The Longest Yard too. So I took him to this thing, and we were taking it in the back. And first, it was like Puddle of Mud were there, guys from Jackass, Typo Negative, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? This is nuts. So we make our way to the front, and Leatherface tells me, you know, if anybody messes with you, I got your back. And there's nothing like having Leatherface have your back. You know what I mean? So he goes up to the seating area and steals all these chairs, and it was completely sold out. I'm like, you can just hijack people's chairs. He's like, yeah, I'm Leatherface. Whatever. So he was looking over me because I just had my cape on and everything like that. And we go back to the very back, and he lights up a joint. And he looks down at me, big old dude, like 350 pounds. He goes, take a hit, little boy. And I don't smoke weed, so I didn't inhale, but I took a hit anyway. I didn't know what weed would do to me. But I did smoke it like 5 times, and got high as a bird. One time it was my best bud Sean back there. And now I know what lazy boy means. You get stuck on that lazy boy forever, like for 4 hours. So, and then I started like a tradition out there when I was living out in LA. I'm like, why don't I keep on going to rock shows, dressed up as Wu Manchu just to throw people off. You know, you don't expect a hip-hop superhero to be at his metal show. So the next metal show that I went to was Lamb of God at the Hollywood Palladium. And I was like a concert journalist out there. So they would pay me to go to concerts. I would photograph all these bands, write reviews for them, and I was on my tippy toe in the photo pit. And I was like trying to drop down their set list. And so I was right down their set list. Some stagehand noticed me doing this stuff. And I walk all the way to the back. You can't miss me. I have this big old yellow cape on. And he walks up to me, and he throws this Lamb of God set list right on top of my journal as I'm writing, and just walks off. And I'm like, that's just the most craziest thing I've ever done. And I'm not sure if it's in Sean's journal, but it's in that one?
I think so, yeah.
Heck yeah. And I think War's in there too, because there's like stains from them.
That's awesome.
Like, I remember coming, like, I was dressed as Wee Man Chi at the War show, nothing, but it was at the House of Blues, and they just kept on putting all their fluids all over my face, all over my ear. Like, you better protect your camera because it's not going to last. And it was like the most funnest show, one of the funnest shows I've ever covered at the House of Blues.
That's awesome.
And circling, on my 30th birthday, I did a parade out on Hollywood Boulevard. And right on the sun, like where the stars are and stuff. And I'm like, that'd be pretty fun to have like, my own parade here. So my 30th birthday, that's what I did. Another fun adventure that I had as Wu Manchu was I got to go to the midnight premiere of The Man with the Iron Fist.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it was super dope. I'm like, I was dressed up like this. As soon as I walked to the very bottom to where the theater is, there were like, all these cameras, the shutters just went off, and like the flashes, like paparazzi. I'm like, this is the most insane thing that I've ever experienced. On top of the Misfits, on top of Lamb of God, on top of War, and it was like some guy. His name's Dimitri something. He was a producer of Jackass or director of Jackass or something. He walks up to me, he goes, "Dude, I love your outfit. We gotta take a picture together." I'm like, "Sure, dude." And I didn't know who he was, but somebody else pointed him out to me. And I'm like, "This is so neat." And they go, "You can't wear a mask in here because if you wear, they just had that whole Dark Knight thing happen."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right, that's cool." But the whole movie premiere thing was pretty nuts. It was at the ArcLight when ArcLight was still running things out in LA. It was in the Cinema Dome or right by the old Amoeba, if you will. And man, sometimes I go trick-or-treating as Wu Manchu, and I go to these comic book conventions and these horror conventions. And one horror convention that I went to was Spooky Empire in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. And Corey Taylor from Slipknot was there. And he had a Q&A session. And he goes, first thing out of his mouth was, "You ain't nothing with dude." And so I threw it up on my YouTube channel and everything like that. I'm like, I'm keeping that quote just in case something cool happens in my life. But man, I've had quite an adventure as Wu Manchu. It's been a wild ride for like, I don't know, like 8 years, 9 years. But I'm a journalist too, as I mentioned earlier, so I feel like Spider-Man and Superman. It's great to have something real in the real world. And even though I was a native of Colorado, I didn't know I had superpowers in LA until I got there. And I remember before I turned into a superhero, I would walk around and I would feel like wings on me or something. It was just my cape just growing in. And I'll rock it like that, I guess. So I don't know if Christy from Denver is here tonight, but they're probably stuck in traffic. So we're going to reach an intermission, maybe an intermission until all the stand-up comics come back into town. I think I got how much more minutes left did I got?
I think 5.
Well, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, I was only supposed to do 10 minutes, but I guess that went pretty fast. But awesome. But I think I'll just end it there, because so that way we can grab food, use the restroom, tip your barista as well. And then after we come back, we're going to do a block of stand-up comics. And after the block of stand-up comics, we're going to have comedians roast my short film. And it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be like Missy Giants Theater. This was inspired by Risk. This is not happening, all that good stuff. And I'm so thankful for the Grindhouse to have us here. So give it for the Grindhouse. Give it for everyone else that's come back here. All right, so see you soon.
Oh, thank you. I was like, I have something in my eye.
Janine.
Yep.
What time do we start tomorrow?